Okay, so we were given a scanned book to work on. It is currently reading as an image and it needs to be in a format that a screen reader can use. In this case, it's preferable that we keep the visual formatting as close to the original as possible so that navigation and pagination are consistent. I'm going to be doing this project using a combination of Adobe Acrobat and Microsoft Word, starting with opening the document in Acrobat. The first thing that we'll need to do is separate the pages so that it's easier to do the OCR scan. The OCR is more likely to figure out what is written if the lines are straight, and splitting them up will help Acrobat to straighten out each page when we run it. We'll do this by duplicating each page by copying and pasting it, which is what I've been working on here. I'm also double checking that they're all duplicated and in the right order, dragging and dropping as necessary to arrange them. What would have been helpful here is if the book had been scanned one page at a time, or at least as perfectly flat as possible. This would have also helped with the other issues that we'll be seeing in just a few minutes. Sometimes that's just not possible though, and so we work with what we've got. Now we're going to hand crop each page, being sure to leave as much white space around the lettering as possible. It's good to have a little wiggle room. Once you've done the first two pages, it gets easier as you figure out about where the numbers are going to be for the rest of them. I've jumped ahead after cropping all of the pages, and our next step is to run an OCR scan. Go to All Tools, then Scan an OCR, then Enhance Scanned File, and be sure that all pages and recognized text are selected. This will straighten the pages and do its best to figure out what the characters on the page are. When it's done, you can do a quick test to see how well it did with finding the text by trying to highlight it. I had a feeling this would be a tricky page, and I was right. Because of the bend of the page, the OCR had a rough time reading what was in the areas that are not highlighting in blue. This means I'll be doing some retyping by hand. Other sections of the book look pretty good and should be fairly straightforward to work with. At this point, I have two options. One is to copy and paste the text from the PDF into a blank Word doc. I'm going to go with the second option, though, which is to save it as a Word doc and then do the editing there. I usually do a quick check to determine which would be faster and more accurate before settling on a method, especially if it's a bigger project. It has finished the conversion and has opened itself up in Word. Now's the time for editing and formatting. A quick look shows me exactly what I thought would happen, which is sections of the pages that are jumbled due to the curved pages. On the other hand, large sections of the book are still looking pretty good and will need minimal editing. You can see that the conversion has done a pretty good job at maintaining paragraph structure, which is a plus. On the other hand, the OCR has not recognized many of the non-standard characters, especially in the French and German words that appear in this book. Now I'll be editing the new version to match the old, and that's going to require me to look at each side by side to compare them. I open back up the Acrobat file and slim down the window to fit next to the Word window so that I can see both simultaneously. If I have the option, I'll put each on their own monitor. I'll correct spelling mistakes, take out hyphens if they aren't necessary, put spaces where they should be, and delete any odd images that appear, such as these lines on the side of the page where a shadow once was. I'll do a quick glance and see if there is anything that needs to be italicized or bolded, or take them out if they aren't supposed to be there. I'll check to be sure that each page fits, and if it doesn't, then I'll keep messing with it until it does. When I'm done with one page, I move on to the next. Sometimes this is a very quick process, but this one took a bit of time, so I'll skip to the next part for you, just butting in here and there to show you a couple of helpful tricks. When the words are all there, but the formatting has made its own weird choices, don't be afraid to use the Clear All Formatting tool. This section appears to think that it's only one of two columns, so I'm going to convince it to go all the way to the other side of the page. Here we have some ghostwriting behind the text. I've moved the actual text out of the way so that I can select it and delete it. This next part isn't technically necessary, but it adds peace of mind to my designer brain. I like to make all of the text as consistent as possible in size, font, kerning, spacing, etc. throughout the book. I'm going to do this by using styles. I'll select a portion and then use that as a template for what I would like the entire document to look like so that there is uniformity. In this case, I think that I'm going to need more space on each page in order to make the font as large as I would like it, which is 12 point in Times New Roman. After fooling around with it a bit, I found that this document worked great with letter-sized paper. So I've finished doing my damage on document, and now it's time to turn it back into a PDF. We'll go to File, and then select Save as Adobe PDF. It will think about it for a little bit, then open your lovely document in Acrobat. And now we can check to see how well tags and other formatting came back over. It's looking pretty good, apart from that one weird blank page, but that's an easy fix. Now that we know it looks great visually, it's time to check behind the scenes and see how our accessibility is doing. Under All Tools, select Prepare for Accessibility, then check for accessibility. This will help you find what it is you need to work on. In this case, they are concerned about the reading order, color contrast, and alt text for images. I don't have any images, so I'm not worried about that. I'll just find the artifact shadow lines that I missed earlier and delete them. I also know that the contrast is just fine, so I'll ignore that too. However, I definitely want to check the reading order, and we're going to look at the tagging too, just to be sure if it's doing what we like. For fun, I'm going to ask it to automatically tag it just to see if it does what we'd like it to do. Interestingly, it did find the difference between paragraphs and notes, which is cool. It also turned the title into a heading 1, but I'm okay with that. However, when I look at the paragraph tags, I'm seeing some weirdness in there. It seems to be giving the German word its own space, which seems polite but can be problematic for reading order. So let's look at that. Sure enough, there are some bizarre things going on. Let's simplify that by clearing the page structure and starting again. I'll open the reading order control panel and mark everything exactly how I want it. I'll do that by drawing a rectangle around the text I want to select, then clicking on what I would like it tagged as. The title will be a heading, and the rest of the text will be a paragraph. On the second page, they did manage to get all the paragraphs into their own sections, but the order is a little out of whack. So let's drag and drop the second paragraph to where it's actually supposed to be. Page 3 is wonky again, so a quick fix for each paragraph, plus marking the notes at the bottom. I checked and fixed the rest of the pages, so let's do a final check on the tags and make sure that we're happy with what they're doing. And everything looks good. Reading order looks good. Let's save before we accidentally undo our good work. Just to see if all is well, let's look at the accessibility checker one more time. We're happy with the reading order, and we know that the contrast is actually fine, so let's hand it over as a finished project.